Hello everyone, this is Xavi and this is an interview about women's football marketing from the blog xavibove.es, a blog born to grow your impact in women's football. Today, we have Alyse LaHue as our guest. For those who may not know her, Alyse LaHue is one of the only two women currently holding the title of General Manager in the NWSL, and also the first woman in the league history to serve as General Manager of the former Women's Professional Soccer and the NWSL. She has a solid experience in football, starting her career at Chicago Red Stars, where she finally served as general manager from 2012 to 2016. In 2018, she joined Sky Blue as vice president, and last September, Alyse was appointed general manager. Besides her role in professional football, Alyse is the co-founder of the youth non-profit organization called Gonzo Soccer, a girls' soccer and leadership academy. So far, Gonzo Soccer has developed programs in 13 different communities across 3 countries. She also serves on the Women Coaches Advocacy Group of United Soccer Coaches, which advocates for the advancement of female coaches and executives. It is also worth mentioning that before entering the New Jersey club, she served as manager of corporate partnerships at the Women's National Basketball Association team, Seattle Storm. Definitely, as a Sky Blue owner Tammy Murphy described, a consummate professional, a fearless innovator, and a respected leader. Alyse, thank you very much for your contribution and for being here with us today.
Thanks, Xavi. Quite the intro. I sound fancy. Thank you for such a glowing intro. I appreciate that. And thanks for having me on today.
Great. So Alyse, first of all, given your solid background in football business, you have worked in organizations as Sky Blue, Chicago Red Stars, Seattle Storm. Which is a valuable business lesson you have learned, particularly in women's football?
Yeah, I think the thing for me, I started in ticket sales, after I had interned. So for me, I learned customer service very early, had very good bosses that really preached about community and being fan focused and fan first. So that's something that stuck with me throughout my whole career. So I always go back to the customer and the fans. I think if you can create a club that's very grassroots, that's community based, that the fans feel like they have ownership of, and you have a transparency of leadership to really make them feel involved, I think that's the best starting place for success, and the best place to start to grow a fan base is to have fans that believe they own the club and they're a part of it. So I always go back to being customer service focused and very fan forward.
And I think, Alyse, that we are, from the outside, we are grasping this strategy with actions that we will talk later on as they select a seat date that you organize at the Red Bull Arena. I wanted to ask you, you started in 2008 when you started working for Chicago Red Stars. Mm-hmm. So far until nowadays, how have you seen the evolution of women's football in the United States?
Yeah, I think, the thing is that unfortunately WPS didn't last. That's where I started my career. And it was, of course, devastating for me to live through, my own team folded out of the league, and then the league unfortunately went under. So that was really hard to live through as somebody who was aspiring to be a general manager, to have the league fold. And that was the second time a women's pro league had folded in the US after WUSA previously. So this new iteration, now that we're entering year 8, I would say we're in uncharted waters now. There's never been a year 8 of a women's pro league in the US. There's never been a year 9. I feel really confident about where we're going. So every day you feel a little bit like a pioneer that we're in these uncharted territories. And I think it gives us the freedom to be a little more nimble, at least on the club level, in terms of trying new things and being more innovative. But every day from here on out is brand new. So we're in a new space as clubs and as a league. I think we continue to grow tremendously as a league. A lot of really positive news on the horizon that's going to show the growth of this league as we enter year 8. And, I truly feel right now, and I don't say this with any hesitation, that this league is here to stay. Things are very stable right now and growing. And of course, you're going to have growing pains with any league that's in what I call a grassroots phase in the first 10 years of its existence, or even 15, 20 years. But I feel really good about where we're headed right now.
You mentioned, Alyse, that you are a pioneer. And as we mentioned in the introduction, you are one of the 2 general managers in the league, and the first one in the history to have been also in the former WPS. What does it mean to you, and how can we have more women in leadership positions as yourself?
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I hate it. I don't want to be the only story. So I think as clubs and we have to do better. That's the bottom line. I've never been shy about that. We have to be better about bringing more women into executive positions at the club level, at the league level. We need more women coaches in our league, more women head coaches to create a better pipeline. I think we're starting to see that. There have been a lot more announcements of women as assistant coaches within our league over the last year. And hopefully these are really solid individuals that are going to grow into head coaching roles over the next 3 to 5 years. But we just have to move quicker. It's on one hand, it's really absurd to me to think that, I'm one of the only GMs that crossed both leagues and has that longevity. I think, a lot of people maybe don't stay in our league long enough, but I believe in this. I believe in women's soccer. And I also believe there's a pipeline of women out there that want to be a part of this. We need to provide them the opportunities to come into these roles. I started as an intern and moved my way up the totem pole. There's not a lot of these stories around the league, and I would like to see more of them. So I'm certainly trying to do my part, and I hope that my colleagues around the league are also taking a really keen interest in being a part of that as well.
I can maybe feel or think that from the outside, the record or being one of the 2 GMs in the league, maybe it has to do as well of some of the actions and things that have been done at Sky Blue in the previous year. For instance, having been reallocated at the Red Bull Arena, playing in front of 8,000 or 9,000 spectators last year, signing top players as Mallory Pugh or Margaret Hurst. What has changed at Sky Blue? What do you think has been the reason of this tipping point?
Yeah, I would start with, ownership. Tammy Murphy had been a silent owner of the team. She decided to come in on a day-to-day basis, and she's the one that brought me into this interim role. So she and I really, flipped things upside down and shook it out and started over. And there was nothing that we didn't analyze and look at and say, how can we do this better? How can we improve this? It was less about worrying about how Sky Blue got to that place and more just about what do we need to do from this day forward to improve this. And that's been our approach to everything we do. The move to Red Bull Arena obviously has been incredible. We just announced that we're going to be training at Red Bull's training facility. So this is incredible for our players. We've got a lot of big hopes and dreams, so we're going to continue to push forward on all of these things. And again, Tammy Murphy has been an incredible partner on behalf of the ownership. They've fully invested into what this vision should look like, and I've again got big hopes and dreams for this club. We're just getting started. Would like to have a lot of success. I believe that a team in the New Jersey, New York City marketplace should be a preeminent team within the NWSL. So we're going to keep pushing forward for that. And obviously, have had a lot of success, I would say, over the last year in pushing things forward. I may just leave while I'm on top before anything changes. Things are feeling pretty good right now. Fans are excited. But yeah, there's a lot more plans on the table. So we're just getting started.
We have already started to see some interesting actions as the Select a Seat Day that you organized at the Red Bull Arena with some players and also a tour around the stadium. Something that could be maybe an average or boring action for many clubs, but you managed to turn it into a whole experience for the fan. What were the results of this day, of this action?
Yeah, to be honest, it was something that we started doing when I was in Chicago, where we would host an open house day at the stadium and give fans an opportunity to see the locker room where the players are at and view the field, go through the tunnel. It's just a cool extra experience for our season ticket members to add value to their commitment to the club and becoming a season ticket member. So obviously with Red Bull Arena being a new home for us, we found this opportunity that, for some of our long-term season ticket holders, this is a big jump, to go from our previous venue to Red Bull Arena. So it was basically an opportunity to say, here's our new house. We want to show you around. Here's our locker room. Here's our improvements. And then, to be honest, it was just really, really nice to have a space and time to talk to our season ticket members, both the ones that have been around for a long time, plus a lot of new members that said, we never believed you would be at Red Bull Arena, or, I always said I would be a season ticket member if you moved to Red Bull Arena, so I had to put my money where my mouth was. And it was just really cool to have that opportunity to interact with our fans, and the excitement from them was really, really palpable. We obviously had some players there as well, so fans getting to interact with our players, and this is the type of thing we would love to do more of, just more spaces to interact with fans, to have more quality experiences for our season ticket members. And it's something that, based on a good results for our select a seat day, it's something we want to continue.
And definitely a proof of the fan-centric strategy that you mentioned earlier. You have been involved in different business positions and also regarding and related to partnerships and marketing, Alyse. What are some lessons or tips that you could provide in order to attract sponsors, to attract brands in women's football or in women's sports in general?
Yeah, I think sponsorship is always a big one. Women's sports typically get a very, very small piece of the pie when it comes to sponsorship investment for a variety of reasons. But I think that, I try to approach it from the opposite angle, that we have a very unique platform that's in a lot of ways different from other men's professional sports. Our fan base tends to skew a bit more female, not dramatically, but it does skew more female, and we know that women control the purchasing power. I think they say 86% of purchasing power is controlled by women. So if I'm a product and I'm trying to sell my product, where do I want to be? You should be in front of women that are making those purchasing decisions. So to me, there's really easy stories that we can tell around a women's sports property. But for me, it comes down to a couple things. One, don't be a charity. You can't go into a conversation saying that you need to do this, or this is an equitable thing, or you support the men's team, you should support us. I don't believe that's the right approach to go into a conversation. I think being able to show a return on their investment, that this isn't just about charity or necessarily just community, but to say that there's a real return on your investment that could be had here. And then the final piece that I always say is a passionate delivery. You've got to have somebody in the room that cares about the property that you're trying to sell. If we're going to go into a conversation trying to sell Sky Blue, I feel like I got to be in the room because I'm going to be the most passionate about it, and I care. This is what I live, eat, breathe. So, I should be in the room telling the story.
Fantastic. And I think that what you said is very interesting, because we can look at it from two sides. As you said, for instance, I was reading today that only a maximum of 1% on average is what the women's team represent in terms of revenues to clubs. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, for instance, Espanyol, one of the teams here in Spain in the top division, they have increased by 30% the revenues of the women's team. So I guess that there's room for growth, and it's what you mentioned. So I think that you brought a very interesting point. And Alyse, thinking about your trajectory of your journey, you said that you mentioned you started as an intern, now you're the GM at Sky Blue. Thinking about tools as books, what have been useful or books that have influenced your career?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a dreamer. I like to read poetry and sometimes escape from my daily job. So I'm probably going to name some funny things here, but I will start with a business book that I always felt had a big influence on me. It's called Ice to the Eskimos. And that was a book, John Spelstra, he worked for the New Jersey Nets, a now defunct NBA team. Ironically, I'm in New Jersey, so I find it funny that I'm full circle here, but I loved the way he approached marketing and came up with some really unique ideas, took a club that was really struggling from a fan perspective and really turned it around. So Ice to the Eskimos is a book that I've always relied on from ticket sales standpoint. I always found really interesting, but again, I appreciate my escapism. So for me, Alice in Wonderland is a book that I always refer back to. I love the fantasy of it, the creativity. I know it's probably hard to relate that to business, but I always joke that I've gone well down the rabbit hole working in women's sports. And, I think creativity and fun and excitement is something that you've got to bring to the game every day. So I like these sort of fantasy books where you can, bring your mind into a different place. And that's what it's about with us at Sky Blue. We're trying to create new and exciting ideas and, not drink too much of the magic potion, but, you got to come up with some creative and fun ideas here. So that's a book that's always resonated with me.
Brilliant. And I can imagine that working as the GM, you may need moments of disconnection, or also going to different worlds, tend to coming back. I also guess, don't know, Alyse, if it's like this. I guess that your journey has been quite challenging. I would like to ask if there has been any big challenge or maybe an apparent failure that has set you up for later success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would probably say too many to count, to be honest. The big one I always say is I was never ready to be a general manager. You just had to, if you got the opportunity, you take it. I hear from a lot of, especially women, that we're trying to bring into these roles that they say they're not ready. And I tell them I wouldn't be a GM right now if I waited until I was ready. You sort of just have to take that leap, and you have to be prepared to make so many mistakes, and you're going to have some really down days, but at the end of the day, you make these mistakes, you learn from them, and part of that comes with creating a really creative and nimble environment. I try to preach at Sky Blue amongst my staff that we want your biggest, most creative ideas, your most insane idea, the thing that you think we cannot pull off. Let's try to figure out how to do it. And it might not make sense and it might not work, but we're going to learn from it, and we will have tried. And that's the most important thing to me. So yeah, I won't specify one because there's probably a boatload of them, but yeah, the most important thing is continue trying, be creative, be exciting, try to do new things. And at the end of the day, you're going to learn some lesson from them. So make sure you take those lessons and store them away for the next big idea.
Excellent. Taking responsibility before waiting for it to come. And lastly, Alyse, going to the last question. What advice would you give to any smart student or young professional about to working in women's football?
Yeah, I think, looking at my own experience, I knew that I wanted to be a general manager. So you kind of have to have this approach of doing what it takes, and the pathway might not look so linear. For me, I started as an unpaid intern, and that was after having my master's degree. But it was a way to get my foot in the door. And from there, then I just had to show that I was willing to work and willing to work hard along the way. So from there, I went into ticket sales. That was something that I absolutely was not going to do. I was too shy to do ticket sales. I'm a bit introverted by nature, which I know on social media most people won't believe, but having that opportunity to do ticket sales actually changed my entire career. It changed the way I think about sports. It changed the way I interact with fans. It changed my whole customer service approach. So without that foundation in ticket sales, if I hadn't been forced to do it, I think I would be in a totally different career right now. I may not even be working in sports, to be honest. So I think having a willingness to take on the jobs that you maybe think you don't want to do or you're not ready for, be willing to try them, because every experience you have is going to set a new foundation for how your sports career may evolve along the way.
Wow, we'll definitely take note on that, and also of the rest of ideas. Alyse, thank you very much. I think that the audience will grasp some insights and also tips to apply, especially from a perspective of a club. Also, best of success and luck for this new season, and also on your challenges being the GM at Sky Blue. Alyse, thank you very much again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.